Catholic worshipers across Ohio now facing the biggest changes to their church in decades in order to keep up with changing times.
The Diocese of Columbus and their relatively new Bishop Earl Fernandez have a new plan to overhaul parishes, including mergers, shutdowns, and more. Tonight, priests and parishioners throughout the 23-county Diocese of Columbus are bracing for more details on this blueprint and their future. We thank you for joining us tonight at 5. I'm Jared Smalling.
And I'm Jennifer Bullock. It's called the Real Presence, Real Future Plan. And tonight we can tell you more than a dozen churches will close. Colleen Marshall got an exclusive first look at the plan and a one-on-one interview with Bishop Earl Fernandez. Colleen?
Well, we know tonight that 15 churches in the Columbus Diocese will close, 8 right here in Columbus. But we also learned 17 other churches that were told they were likely on the chopping block have been spared. It comes after a detailed 2-year study that focused on population shifts, the priest shortage, aging church infrastructure, and declining attendance by Central Ohio Catholics.
I've been meeting with pastors, and in some cases you could see clearly the handwriting on the wall.
For massive thriving churches like Dublin St. Bridget or Hilliard St. Brendan's with successful schools and fairly new buildings, there were no changes to be made.
Other cases in Perry County, there's one young priest, he's got 4 parishes.
There are 90 priests covering the 105 parishes in the diocese, as well as hospitals and school assignments. They were spread too thin. Some of the churches were too old and crumbling. Some of the attendance numbers on too steep a decline. The diocese was divided into zones, and sometimes tough choices were made. Here's an example in the heart of Columbus. 3 churches within blocks of each other. St. Ladislaus on Reeb Avenue, founded in 1908, will close. Corpus Christi is celebrating its centennial this year. It will be the last because it too will close, and both will merge with St. Mary's starting July 1st. Bishop Fernandez says some churches that were thought to be aging congregations and to be on their last legs are reborn due to migration.
A good example, St. Agnes and St. Stephen's. They're full of Latinos. A Holy Name Church, a lot of the Anglo population has moved away, but Santa Cruz is a non-territorial parish, and I went and had Mass in mid-January there, 400 people from the Dominican Republic. I was the 3rd oldest person in the church.
The bishop wants all parishes in the diocese to be welcoming to their neighbors who might be merging with them, to immigrants and to new members, because the diocese must also do what the entire region is doing, plan for intel and the expected influx of people over the next decade.
This is the reality of the Diocese of Columbus today. We're expecting 1 million people, not all Catholic, but to come to our region. How do we plan for the future? The Holy Father, Pope Francis, talks about pastoral conversion of structures for the sake of evangelization, moving from maintenance to mission. So what it really does is it orients Catholics in the Diocese of Columbus to the overall mission of church of making disciples of all the nations, of engaging people in one-on-one encounters. And so we have to rethink the way we've been doing things.
Now, I also learned 2 Catholic schools will close as part of this restructuring pastoral plan. Saints Peter and Paul K-8 school, that's in Wellston, and St. Anthony's K-8 Catholic school right here in Columbus. But the bishop says this study was also preparing the diocese for the future and evangelism and growth. We'll have more about that coming up tonight at 6.
All right, Colleen, thank you. Now, NBC4 was first to notify you on air and online of these changes.
Let's get to Sierra Johnson, who spent the day speaking with parishioners. And Sierra, how are people feeling about these changes?
Well, I can tell you I spent a lot of the afternoon in the neighborhood here on the north side of the city surrounding St. Anthony at Church, and a lot of those folks say they're heartbroken, but they're not surprised. That's because, as Colleen mentioned, the last couple of years they've seen the enrollment at this school dwindle, as well as church attendance.
Really, I mean, the teachers cared about you on a personal level, your education. I was very blessed to have them as my teachers.
Jarrett Burke says the memories he holds as a young student at St. Anthony are priceless. These pictures capture the 9 years he spent as a student at the Catholic school, a school just feet away from his childhood home.
Since we graduated, it's always kind of been a conversation that I knew one day would happen.
But he says he's always known there would be a day that St. Anthony would shut its doors. He says declining enrollment coupled with fewer Catholics attending local churches were major factors, a sentiment echoed by the Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Columbus. The diocese restructuring includes the closure of 15 churches, which include 2 K-8 schools, Saints Peter and Paul in Wellston and Burke's beloved St. Anthony in Columbus. This former student says his new hope, the changes, specifically the merger of 3 Northside parishes, will breathe new life into the religion that has meant so much for him and his family.
Maybe it'll bring new blood to the church. It'll be good to see its new traditions, but for those people who that's all they knew for the past 40, 50 years, it's sad to see for them. It's sad to see for us. I really wish St. Anthony was going to continue going.
And that former student of St. Anthony, like the bishop mentioned, is also hoping that the city's growth, including some of those major projects like Intel, also contribute to growth of other parishes and prevents another round of closures. We're live on the city's north side. Sierra Johnson, NBC4.
All right, Sierra, thank you. So will your church eventually close, merge, or stay the same? You can find the answer via our interactive map at NBC4i.com. Just use the search bar to look up your church and what the future holds.